Hey guys, this is Brewer, East Bay Hitting Instruction. So a little while back I did a video on the hip hinge for hitting and talked about how it's really important and showed some hitters doing it. So today I wanted to spend a little bit of time of showing how we can improve and groove this movement because it's such an important deal. When hitters come up to me the first time, they kind of get upset with me because I take the bat out of their hands and I work on grooving this movement for 20-25 minutes, as long as it takes, because it's just so critical. So just to refresh you on what we're doing, we're working on this movement when we're standing tall, we're bracing our abs, and we're pushing our hips back and getting into a good position, engaging our core, engaging our glutes to be able to move us. And so what I see a lot of times with hitters who don't do this performance right, I see two faults. Or basically, instead of breaking with the hips, we bend our knees and we've really done nothing in terms of engaging our core and using our glutes to power the movements. We basically just engage our quads. And the second movement I really see a lot is to kind of just really stick the butt out and get this canoe back. You know, that's great if you're Kim Kardashian, but for hitting it's not the best thing. When we do this, really break down this lumbar region. We lose all the tension in our gut. We lengthen our glutes to where we can't use them anymore, and it really puts us in a disadvantaged position. From this position, my glutes can't help me turn my front leg, they can't help me extend my hips, and now my core is flaccid, it's not strong, and I can't transfer any energy I build up from the lower body to the upper body to swing the bat. So it's really the trifecta of bad. We really want to get this movement down of bracing our abs, pushing back, breaking with the hips. Knee bend is fine. Knee bend is a function of how much we bend our hips. We do not just squat down, we break with our hips. So I want to go through some exercises. This is by no means an exhaustive library of exercises, but ones I use I find are helpful with hitters. So first thing we can do is simply just learn this hinge. I'll get the guys up against a net or a wall, and it's just really short breaking with the hips, pushing it back. The cues I give guys is, imagine there's a piece of wire from your sternum to your belly button. We don't want to break that string. We want to keep this nice and tight. If I break this, put my chin up, my chest goes up, my pelvis, anterior forward pelvic tilt, I'm going to break this string. I want to keep it nice and tight. What's up, Ben? So I'm going to keep this nice and tight and bend up and break with my hips and get my butt back. I'm not going to arch. I'm not going to do this number where I had this good shelf. That's going to break my string. I tell guys, I want there to be a nice dog house here. If it's raining, I want this rain to slide right off. I don't want it to collect on my lower back and on my butt. So I have them do that. I use a dowel rod a lot. It's really good for learning movement. So I have them put it back this, and I want it on my butt, really close to my lower back, on my upper back, and on my hips, or on my head rather, and just don't break anything. Don't get a lot of space back here. Keep this nice and tight, engage this core, and break with my hips. Really good. Just doing this over and over. Once you get a feel for that, we can add a little bit of resistance here. I have my J-band here. Gonna put it up here. Learning to break here. Learning to engage this, keep this nice and tight, pushing back. Okay? So when you're in the gym, some things we can do are a kettlebell swing. Really, really good for a hip extension. You know, when I come in here, break with my hips, keep my core nice and tight, extend, bring it back, let it carry back. A lot of guys when they get out here are going to squat down and immediately put us into this APT, and we don't want that. We want to keep this nice and tight, let it bring back, then bend, forward, nice and tight, keep this nice and strong, extend. Very, very good muscle builder. Good mornings are really good. I really like these. Keep this behind your back, push back with your hips, extend. Again, this is probably the only time you're going to hear a strength coach tell you where range of motion is not critical. I don't care if guys go this far down. If it's no good, if I'm extending, you're doing more harm than good. If all the range of motion you have right here, when you're building this up, is this right here, fine, that's great. We'll work on this until we can get a better range of motion. Pushing back, engaging this core. You know, we can vary the load angle, basically doing an RDL or a straight leg RDL, remaining deadlift. We're kind of coming here, and I tell guys I want you to break away from this bar, pushing your hips. coming down, bring it up. Again, it's all about movement quality here. I don't care if you're touching your toes, if you cause everything to break down, it doesn't matter to me. I want you to get a good form and work on what we're working on here. Okay? When you're doing your squats, again, it's very important. We don't break with the knees going to valgus. We want to push the hips back, engage this core. We want to go Kim Kardashian. There's no reason to do that. We want to keep this nice and neutral, strong, brace, then get into a good position. When you're doing your deadlift, same thing. I really like deadlifts a lot. They're great for this hip extension coming through. Again, check your ego at the door. If you don't have this mobility in your hips, get the trap bar, elevate the bar, but really work on this stuff. Getting down here, abs engaged, spine neutral, extending. And when you're going the negative, we're not just going to drop it, put it on our side. We're going to break with our hips and then lower it down. Work on these movements. Again, it's all about movement quality. Every rep you do is either going to make you better or worse. So if you don't have the range of motion, if you have mobility issues somewhere else, work on this stuff. Especially I see people who kind of present this forward pelvic tilt. This is a misalignment. We need to work on this. If you're squatting really deep or you're working on deadlift or bad form, you're making things worse. Every rep is either going to make you better or worse. So check your ego at the door. Work on your movement quality. Get back in here, lower the weight, do some good mornings, do some back extensions, get a good movement base. We're working on building a good movement base. So when you get a good feel for this hip hinge, once you've grooved it, I want to see guys go into this. We're going to take it into this lateral movement. Obviously for hitting, it's a big part of our stride, this hip hinge. So just get into a lateral split or a wider stance, and we're just going to hip hinge back and forth. You'd be surprised how many guys can't do this very well. Same thing from the side. When I'm doing this, I don't want to let it cave. I'm going to try to keep this good position, core engaged, just like a good stride. Core engaged, not letting this sag where my gut gets loose, where I can't transmit power. Keep everything nice and tight. All right, so that's the hip hinge. We went over just working the movement, drilling it up against the wall, doing it with a dowel rod. I really recommend that. I encourage every hitter to get a dowel rod, do a lot of movement with that. We brought in the day bands. We did the kettlebell exercise where we didn't break too early with our knees. That's out here. Allow it to bring back, hip hinge, extend. We're doing your RDLs from down here. Your good mornings from up here. Same thing, breaking with the hips, keeping this nice and strong, bringing it into our squat and our deadlift movements. All right, guys, work on movement quality. It's the most important thing on this. Groove this hip hinge so when you can translate it into your hitting and have a lot of success. All right.